Mr. President, I have 5:30.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody to the regularly scheduled school board meeting Thursday, July 6th, 2023. Mr. Philo, could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Landon.
Here.
Mrs. Malad.
Here.
Mr. Steininger.
Here.
Mr. McCourt.
Here.
Mr. Browning.
Here. Could we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda, could I get a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented with the addition that Mr. Philo talked about earlier?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Philo?
Ms. Landon.
Yes.
Mr. Steininger.
Yay.
Mrs. Malad.
Yes.
Mr. McCourt.
Yes.
Mr. Browning.
Yes, motion carries. Next is to approve the minutes of the Thursday, June 8th regular meeting and the Thursday, June 29th special meeting. If I could get a motion and a second.
So moved?
Second.
Mr. Philo?
Mr. McCourt.
Yes.
Mrs. Malad.
Yes.
Ms. Landon.
Yes.
Mr. Steininger.
Yay.
Mr. Browning.
Yes, motion carries. Next is board reports and good of the order. We could start with Wendy.
You're up. Well, sorry, I wasn't quite prepared for that, sorry.
Sorry.
Would like to thank everyone that participated in the parade the other day. It was a hot one for sure, and the float was beautiful, so thanks, Pam, for all your hard work and your effort that you put into that, and everybody that helped you build it. So they did an excellent job, and I think they won the Judges Award, right? So congratulations, and thank you for everything that you did. Thank you.
Yep, all right. Same, want to echo what Wendy said about all the effort that went into our presentation of our school facilities at the parade and everyone who came out to support us. Especially want to give a big thank you to John Greta and the Fairborn Marching Band for pulling it together so last minute. I know that that is a very difficult maneuver. We lost over 20 very talented seniors from the marching band last year. So for those kids, being as young as they are, to pull that together in that amount of time was truly remarkable. And we want to know that their community supports them and appreciates them. So thank you.
Absolutely. Matt?
Well, again, the parade was excellent as always. It seems like, and I've heard for many years, we've got maybe if not the best, one of the biggest parades. And it just seems like every year, my wife and I were talking about it just the other day, how it was back 10, 20 years ago in comparison to what it is now. And I don't see much of a difference. Maybe we had more bands in the parade at that time. I remember when the Air Force Marching Band would come out and march in our parade, and we see the Shriners always seem to turn out. But kudos to all that was in charge of that, and I as well thank the band for doing their part and being there. There's not a parade without a band, in my mind anyway. So thank you all. And also, I've been out to see some of the basketball scrimmages and practices.
Football?
Basketball, yep, they've already started.
Good.
And, the kids are coming along and working hard, and I think we're going to see some improvements there this year, so we're all looking forward to that. So thank you very much.
Okay.
And again, to echo what everybody else has said about the parade, but the city put on a great show too. I mean, we had a great fireworks display. It was just a great weekend in spite of the weather, in spite that we all got rained out for different events. And the community just turns out. It's just good that when you watch it, to watch the excitement in people's eyes and the children's eyes as they watch the parade. I think everybody's just enthused and enjoys that event so much. So I'm glad that we participated. Football people that were walking with me, they threw candy by the handful. I thought they were not just throwing but tossing, but it was fun to watch them all participate and get their grins as they looked at a small kid's face when they handed him a piece of candy. So it was really good. Thanks.
Yeah, just again, not to be redundant, but the parade, and thanks Pam for all the hard work that went into float and those types of things. And I love watching the expression of the kids' faces as we're going down the road. And I always watch for, you'll have some kids that run out, and grab every piece of candy, and then you have some kids that stand back, holding their bag. And I always try to get them candy, because they don't get it. So it's fun to watch for them. Just a couple other things. The new high school, had a chance to walk through some of it again this week, and it's just amazing to me. And I think, Jeff, I'm not going to steal any of your thunder on a construction update, but it's amazing to me how much changes in a very short period of time every time when you walk through there. And then lastly, walking in the building, you can see all the work that's going on with our custodians and maintenance crew and them. And when the building gets quiet without kids, they get working. And kudos to them in terms of all the work that they're putting in the building to have it ready when it reopens in August. So that's it.
I gotta say though, real quick, Val Herdman is an absolute celebrity. I
Oh,
sat
no.
next to that woman on the parade float, and every single child knew who she was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never heard so many people so happy to see one woman.
That's awesome.
So it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Okay, recognition of visitors, Mr. Philo.
Mr. President, we don't have anybody signed up to speak.
Okay. Next is school district presentations. Mrs. Gayhart?
So first up, we will invite Kevin Philo to present about the state budget.
So I will remain seated. It's the same chart you've seen for the last 6 months, with another block filled in with question marks. The conference committee between the House and the Senate conferred, finished up before June 30th. They passed the resolution, though, to extend funding for the state of Ohio by 1 week. Governor DeWine, they made some modifications, but what I heard was that they really went with the House proposal when it came to state of Ohio school funding. There's some minor tweaks. Haven't seen any simulations on it yet. The governor then signed on July 3rd, which is the first time in probably 30 years that they've enacted something after June 30th. He used his line item veto on 44 items. But I don't think any of it had major consequences on school funding. So as soon as I get the final simulations, I will send them out, but I think it looks pretty positive. I have the House numbers in there. I know there's a little tweak that the Senate did that I don't think will negatively affect us, but in terms of, it's some good numbers for Fairborn schools. Once I get the final simulations, I'll send that out to the board, but it will help us remain in a strong position financially for the next few years.
Good. Good news.
Next up, we'll invite Jeff Patrick to give us facilities update.
We'll do this in a little bit different order. We'll do the new high school first instead of the primary. We'll just switch it up tonight a little bit. As Mr. Browning said, the work at the high school continues to go very well. We have some exterior work started probably a week and a half ago on the football, soccer field, band practice field, and tennis courts, as you'll see bulldozers out there to try to level that off and so forth. We have had meetings, at least 1 or 2 meetings, on the storage facility and indoor practice facilities. So basically, the storage facility is in probably what I would consider a little bit farther ahead as far as design and development goes. The training facility is still under basically the planning stage of that. So we'll continue to work through that. On site, you'll see the north side of the arena roof has been completed, and the PAC roof towards the west has also been completed. So all things that basically show a great progress. And the ceramic walls that were approved a couple months ago, probably now, I'm guessing, if one of them is completely finished and the other one's probably halfway done. And that all took place within the last 5 days. So that's pretty amazing that they're getting all that done and so forth. On the agenda tonight, you will see change order number 3 in the amount of $260,000. That will take us to a total of just a little bit over $6 million in change orders. That, once again, is just the VE items, the valued engineered items that were taken out, and alternates and so forth. So we continue to work our way through that list and get those things reincorporated from the bond levy passage. Substantial completion date is still the end of May 2024, so we're still in good shape with that. We have started the planning stage for moving basically half the staff and half the kids next year, so we've met with 2 moving companies, and we'll continue to work through that process. Just kind of want to get that on the schedule so that we have that to take care of. Moving a high school and a middle school is a lot. It's a big job compared to primary and intermediate school, so I'm a little concerned with that. So to get somebody out there now, that'd be a big help. We'll flip back towards the current high school. Most of the plumbing work that we've done this summer to replace the old pipes has been completed. Once again, that's kind of a phased project like we do the roof. You know, we spend about $50,000 every year to do a portion of the roof. Next year, we'll do the same thing on the plumbing pipes and so forth. So the work that they did this summer, they basically have completed that work. At the intermediate school, we are approximately 95% done with punch list items. We will be done with all but 2 punch list items by the end of July. We'll have 2 punch list items, which are hand railings and the lighting programming that will take place the first 2 weeks of August. So completion of all punch list items at this point in time, as we stand here today, is Friday, August the 11th at the intermediate school. For the primary school, we started the storm line work up the primary school. We had a little problem, so we had to take a little curveball, figure some things out, but we've got that resolved. So now we have the storm line all the way across the current bus parking lot. It's tied into the detention pond, and we are now up onto the old 5 Points lot, hitting from the north to the south, and all that pipe work is in. So there'll be some swales that they'll put in and so forth, but most of that work is going to be in pretty good shape. Next month, I believe you'll be approving a huge donation from the primary school PTO. I believe it's right at $35,000 or something, $36,000 for a set of swing sets that we will be putting on the southwest playground, the facility that it's currently existing. So that was a huge donation, and I'm sure it'll be on the agenda next month.
Awesome.
So we have, basically they've donated that money to the school district. We now basically bid it out.
Right.
They'll come in and do it, and we'll use the same company that we did the preschool last summer, I think, with that set of swings. So that's going really well. We're not sure we'll be able to make completion date by the end of August or not. We'll see how that goes. Phase 3B estimates, which are parking lots, playgrounds, and so forth. Estimates are due in July 21st, so a week and a half, something like that. And Hill and OFCC have started the dialogue to really figure out how much money there is in the state combined money. You know, we talk $800,000, some of that's abatement, so you can't use it for this pile and that pile and so forth. So hopefully those estimates will help us determine if the $2.5 million that's been set aside from the passage of that bond issue is enough to complete the playgrounds, parking lots, and so forth, or if we will have to list alternates or so forth. So I would think first part of August, maybe the August board meeting, we'll have a better idea about that budget, where that stands. And then that schedule would basically, you guys have heard me say this before, it's that phase 3B is really, we have about 8 to 10 weeks to get that done. Right. That's a scary thing. So anything we can do to do any of the site work up on the old 5 Points lot that can save us time, the better. So that's why we're trying to get it bidded early. Maybe they can get on site, maybe in March, up on the dirt area, do what they need to do and so forth. So that's not a big window, but I'm just a little worried about that schedule. So, any questions?
Jeff, could you tell us about the plans for the fencing? I think the old fencing is still on the, what would be the south end, where the parking lot is.
What project?
I'm sorry?
What project?
I'm sorry, on 3B.
Okay.
And will we be running the black fence up toward the, to the east there?
So yes and no.
Okay,
Old fence comes out, if we have enough money to put black fence will be around the entire property.
Gotcha, okay.
So some of it will be in base bid, some of it will be in alternate, depending on the estimates.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Anything else?
Nope. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That's it for
Okay.
presentations.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is budget and finance. Basically approval of the monthly financial report for May. Could we get a motion and a second, then if there's any explanation or questions?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, thoughts? Is there anything you want to update on? Okay. Go.
Jerry, I'm sorry, I just want to, item number 2, as far as the athletic supplementals.
We're not there yet.
Oh,
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
You're ahead of us.
Yep, okay.
Okay. So, Mr. Philo, if you want to call roll?
Mrs. Malad,
Yes.
Mr. Steininger.
Yay.
Ms. Landon,
Yes.
Mr. McCourt,
Yes,
Mr. Browning.
Yes, motion carries. So next is administrative reports and superintendent recommendations. And that includes the addendum that we talked about earlier under A1. And then it goes to the top of page 7. So if we could get a motion and a second, then we can have comments.
so moved.
Second.
Okay, now it's comments.
I just want to go back to page 2 and give a shout out to Zach Adams. Zach has been involved with the program in athletics in and around our school district, football, wrestling, and anything else I think they can coerce him into. But here's a kid that, I say kid, he's a man now, but I mean, I've known him for a long, long time. I've just heard great things from the kids, from their parents regarding him. And I know he's working very closely with our head coach to bring some continuity to what the kids do at the junior high, preparing them to come up to the high school. So shout out to Zach. I think he does a great job.
Yeah, and I guess to add to that, Pat, if you look at the list of the athletics, the number of Fairborn graduates that are in that list that have now come back to help is pretty impressive when you look down through that list.
Indeed.
So, any other comments? If not, Mr. Philo, could you call roll, please?
Mr. McCourt,
Yes,
Mrs. Malad,
Yes.
Ms. Landon,
Yes.
Mr. Steininger,
Yay.
Mr. Browning.
Yes, motion carries. Next, so we've got really the first read of all these attachments. Was that supposed to be before?
No,
Change
There's not a
order.
separate vote on that.
it's just a read. There's no vote on the first read. There's only
Right.
approval afterwards.
Next, gifts and donations, there's one, Jane Clifton, $100 for the Ron McDermott Scholarship Fund, so thank you, Jane Clifton. Next is a work session.
At this time, Mr. President, we don't anticipate a work session. We do anticipate an executive session,
Okay.
unless there is a need for any work session. Anybody?
Nope.
Ms. Gayheart?
No, sir.
Okay.
Would
So
entertain
we
a
need
motion.
a motion and a second to go into executive session.
Recommended to go into executive session for the specified purpose of the employment discipline of public employees.
We get a motion and a second?
So moved.
second, go ahead. Timmy?
Mr. Philo?
Ms. Landon,
Yes.
Mr. Steininger.
Yay.
Mrs. Malad,
Yes.
Mr. McCourt,
Yes.
Mr. Browning.
Yes. So we're now in executive session.